Hey, everybody, welcome aboard. Let's go like this. Hey, everybody, welcome to the live show, the Saturday edition. And of course, once again, we're here to listen to Shortwave and to talk about Shortwave, about radio, about every aspect of radio. And nice to have everybody on board as usual. So this is a show about radio. We talk about radio. We have fun with radio. We chase pirates. We just, answer questions. There's so many people here that are new to the hobby. And it's fun to see that. And it's really, really cool to see. It's cool to see everybody, still enjoying the good old radio. We're in the last week of our. We are in the last week of our B20 schedule season. That means that next Sunday, the 28th, we're going to have the schedule changes. So there's always a little part of that time where we kind of lose track of our favorite stations. But hope that you enjoy the show for today. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. We are live with a show about radio. And we are, of course, always having fun. And there's so many things out there to listen to and that happen. And, of course, we have 2 shows a week. These shows are on Wednesday, North America time at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's 0 hours Universal time. So UT is Thursday. And basically, we also have a show on Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern. That's 20 hours Universal time. And we have a beautiful chat room with wonderful people. If you have a Gmail account, you can join in. It's always nice to have everybody here. And if you are, if you have fun and you feel like there's maybe, a withdrawal syndrome once you come here, have fun for a few hours, and notice that after the live show ends, you're all alone again. Well, there's a Facebook group, official SWL channel for that, where you can continue posting what you're listening to and have fun with radio in general. This is really, really cool to, of course, be here and to always have that little moment in, twice a week where we share and are together with one big passion and one thing that unites us all, the love of radio. No, radio isn't dead. Far from it. There's so much out there to listen to. It's very different on the shortwave bands, absolutely, but it's far from being over. Interesting discussion this afternoon. There was the monthly Zoom meeting for the Canadian International DX Club members. Because yes, if you're a member of the CIDX Club, that has the wonderful messenger every month, you also have access to a monthly meeting online, virtual, through Zoom. And sorry, guys. So through Zoom, and basically that is a meeting where we exchange and talk about radio and all sorts of, meet up with the club members, which is kind of always fun to see. You guys see my face all the time, but I don't get to see your face most of the time. Some of you have your face in your profile pictures, but not everyone. So it's kind of fun to see what everybody looks like. And the Zoom meeting as part of that. And so, of course, you can ask for a sample copy of CIDX, the messenger, if you want to see what it is all about. And it's a great club to join at the same time. And we were talking about correspondence. There was an interesting, there was a man, Alessandro. I unfortunately forgot his that is I forgot his last name. Unfortunately, he is the founder of IRRS, the Italian radio relay service in Italy, and we were talking about that. The fact that and we got to remember that part of the the correspondence to stations, they don't really like anybody that's a QSL hog that just writes in for a QSL card and that's it. What they value, of course, is having people listen to the program, to the content, and that is something that it is true. It's something that we've got to remember. If you write for QSLs, don't just ask for a QSL and give details. Show them that you're listening. Give them some examples of what you're listening, programs that you like on the air and stuff like that. Because that is the main reason they are staying there. That is the main reason they are actually going to oops, I'm just going to lower my laptop's sound. We don't need it for now. And we don't, of course, have it's not interesting for a broadcaster not knowing that you're if you're listening or not to the content. That's what is important in a radio station. And in times when radio stations are in we are afraid every I know that every schedule season, one of the things that kind of comes to my mind is is there going to be a shortwave broadcaster that's going to give up and say, hey, I think it's not worth it anymore to stay here. Part of the reason is the audience having correspondence, knowing that everybody's out there. Radio is very, very special because you have no idea. There's this difficult thing, or shortwave radio particularly is a very difficult thing. It's very difficult to know how many people are actually listening. How many people every week are listening. Getting an audience number is close to impossible. You got to take numbers and listen to reports. So writing to your favorite station, letting them know, I think if we should have something to do, and maybe, I will participate also, is everybody watching the show, and when it's recorded also, think about your favorite station or some of your favorite stations out there. Why don't you take the time to just drop a line and say, hey, I love what you do. I love your programs. Give them the times and the day, the days and times that you listen in, and what you like about their programs and so on. It's something that is cool. It's something that I think is important. So why not take the time to write to your favorite station and what's interesting in there, what do you like, and give them comments of everything you like, even things you don't like. Stations want to know what people want to listen to, and I think more than ever it is the time to write to your stations. I'll do my effort this week. I'll let you know in a shortwave video or in the live show what station I've actually written to and said, hey, I'm listening, and I'm happy you're on the air still on shortwave. So that is, I think, a mission that we should all have to. That helps maintain. If they can say to whoever takes the decisions, look at all the correspondence we're getting. People are listening. It is, an example of how a station can keep on the air or stay on the air. Maybe some of the people there are thinking, well, maybe we should shut down that shortwave thing. We don't seem to have anybody there. Well, if you all write to your favorite stations, they'll have they'll have those emails and letters to show and say, no, you're wrong. People are listening, and it's important to keep this. Another aspect that was interesting, of course, and that we say all the time. I say it so many times here. When a country leaves shortwave, how much news do you have from that country afterwards? Pretty much none. And unless there's some maniac doing something, because that's always what pops up in the news for some reason. Forget it. We don't, examples I always give is, I have no idea what's happening in Sweden since Radio Sweden's gone. I have no idea, I have no idea what's happening in whatever country. What's happening in the Netherlands exactly? What did happen this week that could be of interest to an international audience and knowing more about what happened there? Same here, with Radio Canada International being at a very close. We're at a moment with Radio Canada International right now that is an online thing. We're at a moment that this month everything could change, and it'll be pretty much the nail in the coffin of what's left. Wojtek Viesta of the RCI Action Committee is posting every day there's that number of how many days left of Radio Canada International online. And I mean, he's been able to get a ton of people and, old ambassadors and personalities, well-known personalities and old prime ministers and ministers that were in the government in the past, and everybody coming up and saying, you know what, it's a really bad idea to stop that voice of Canada through the world, because it is needed. There is a need for that, not just for Canadians abroad, but for people to know what Canada is all about also at the same time. And we're at that moment where it's crazy. And what is sad is it costs so little on a place like WRMI, for example, to have some transmitter time. I mean, it was costly with the transmitters and Sackville and everything, but it costs almost nothing to use a relay and look at great examples of countries that have dropped shortwave and then came back through relays of WRMI. Radio Tirana, Radio Prague, Radio Slovakia. These are all examples. Argentina also. And you know what? That means that they consider that a international voice is still important. It's still something that needs to be there. Part of my listening in the afternoon, I think I said it last week, one of the great times for me is the Radio Prague relays of WRMI on 15770 at 21 UT. So they have the English, 30 minutes of English, then they have the 30 minutes of French that follows, which I love since I can listen to both languages. I listened to a full hour of Radio Prague, and it's really, really a lot of fun. So pretty cool to see that, and it is fun listening. Unfortunately, I see too many negative comments that I've noticed over time. It's a lot of DXers coming back and saying, well, what's the point of listening to Radio Prague from WRMI transmitters? And that's where you see, okay, there's we are divided in different categories of radio listeners. Some of them are chasers of, DX and listening to the original country and so on. Yeah, I know. It's fun to have, Radio Slovakia from Slovakia and Radio Prague from the Czech Republic. Yeah, it's fun to have Radio Tirana direct from Albania. I understand that it's kind of cool when you hear the country from its own transmitter site, but I think, it's hurting the hobby to have so many voices coming up and saying, well, that's not listening to Radio Prague from a US transmitter site. It's boring. So that obviously means you don't care about program listening. That's the first thing that's obvious. Where I actually do care about program listening, I like to listen to what these stations have to say about the world, about their own countries. Nothing like having the world comment on maybe something in your own country to understand a little more why things are the way they are. And I think a lot of audience in a lot of countries should have a better idea of how all the rest of the world thinks about us, because very, very often the countries, the people in that country, think of themselves in a way that is, and they think that the world thinks of them in a certain way. And then you learn when you actually look at the world that no, they're kind of not thinking that. You're kind of wrong, and you're taking bad decisions based on wrong ideas. It's important that everybody listens to everybody else. In a conversation, what makes a conversation and two people and a gang of people work with each other and have a positive outlook of everything is talk. Let's talk. But when a country stops to talk with the others, it becomes a real big problem, because it can take directions that it should not. So international voices are great for that, because it's, in a sense, a way of talking. You're listening to another country's opinion on world events. You're listening to another country's opinion on your own country. You're listening to ideas from other people. And that can never be bad. That can only be positive. Honestly, that can only be positive. So we got to think about that, and we've got to, make sure that we keep as much as those voices on the air. It's so important that all of these voices keep broadcasting. I mean, it's part of our hobby, and if nobody writes in, don't wonder why countries that have to spend money, because everything comes down to money. We say it all the time. Why do the budgets of stations get cut? Because nobody really sees, or nobody kind of views that importance. Why is it important for me to have a voice on shortwave so that actual people really listening in and having a program? Why would we continue to spending millions of dollars a year to explain who we are, what we are, and especially not even knowing if somebody's out there listening? And that's how you got to convince all of these stations, and you got to convince everybody, no, you have no idea how important your voice is on shortwave, and how important your voice is to the world. And I think that understanding was there in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Because, why were there so many stations? Because in times where the world was terribly divided with, with the Iron Curtain, the Eastern Bloc countries and the USSR, and you had the Western countries, and everybody wanted to have a voice because it was more important than ever that everybody talks and everybody tells the world who they are and what they think of world events. And it's the way it is, and we've got to accept what is now. Honestly, if tomorrow morning WRMI disappears from the airwaves, just think about it, what a North American shortwave evening will look like. We won't have a lot of stuff. We'll have Radio Romania, Radio Voice of Turkey. We'll have Radio Havana, Cuba. What else will we have? All the religious trash that's on the stations. That's it. So, I totally understand that it's fun to hear stations direct, but at the same time, I'd rather have tons of stations relayed from WRMI, filling up that schedule and that airtime and listening to all of these stations there, than not having them at all because they stop because they stop. Canadian Radio TV guy 14231 is not weather facts. It's slow scan TV. 14 for about 14225 to 14235 is the kind of the official slow scan television range of frequencies. Sending pictures. So, like I said, there's a beautiful chat room, and now that I've been talking for 20 minutes nonstop, I'm going to start saying hello to everybody in the chat room. Remind you that I am probably far behind in the chat usually, so if you say something, say hi, ask a question. It could take easily half an hour before I actually answer your questions or say hi. Don't worry about it. I'll be there at some point. Cheers, everybody. Vodka and cranberry juice to celebrate my birthday. Thank you by email, by the way. We're going to check out here. Got a few check-ins on email that came through. We have through email, Richard Limke. Nice to have you here from St. Albert in Alberta, Canada. And thank you for the birthday wishes. It's nice to have you here. We have Elizabeth, that is in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada, that is saying hello and also wishing me happy birthday. She is happy to be listening to the show today. Nice to have you on board. We have somebody. We have Ron that is checking in. Ron is located in the state of Virginia. Says that he's been. This is the second time that he's watching the live show, and he really enjoys the format, the way it is, and my knowledge. And he is now a fan, as he says. Cool. Thanks, Ron, Virginia. So if you're not in the chat room, you can send an email to officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com and say hello, official shortwave radio. At gmail.com. There's a... So I don't know if it's just... Let me just check it out here. I am looking at, because I got emails from the Glenn Hauser feed here. And one of them has in the title, Iran quitting shortwave, apparently. So I don't know. I'm going to have to check that out. If Iran is actually quitting shortwave, that'd be sad. You might not agree with whatever programming there is there. You might not agree with the viewpoints. It's still a country on shortwave, and it would be sad to lose one more. So this is really sad to see this. And we have shortwave listener that says happy birthday, and he's listening in from Bolton in the UK. And this is nice to have everybody on board. Is it popping up everywhere? I got notifications popping up on my phone, which pop up on the screen, which might pop up there. I don't know. So, anyways, we'll be checking that out and seeing if all of that is a possibility. Would be sad to lose another country, unfortunately. So, Matt, MDK2, nice to have you here from Denver, Colorado, and it's 21 Celsius there. That is, wow, beautiful weather for radio and outdoors. Glenn, nice to have you on board from Wisconsin. We have Bobby Burgess. Nice to have you here from Morgan City, Louisiana, USA, WA5107 SWL. Rich, nice to have you here from North Carolina. And he says, let's search the shortwave frequency, sees what we can find today. Rob in Phoenix, Arizona, nice to have you on board. It is the first day of spring, absolutely. Absolute. And it's the first day of autumn on the other side. Steve Miller, nice to have you on board from Arizona. Michael Thompson, nice to have you here from New Jersey. Tom DXer, WPE2QED from the Hudson Valley, New York. We have the blind picker, nice to have you here. Rob, W0RAB in Connecticut, a blind ham. And Elizabeth in Regina, Saskatchewan is a blind radio listener. So this is so weird. I'm getting pictures and stuff popping up. So, okay. 45 unit, nice to have you here from Florida. And pretty cool to have you on board. Says your loop antenna phasing test idea from your last show sounds cool. Yeah, that's something I'll need to have I'll need to check out and have in working order. Icadarius, nice to have you on board. It says it's the radio show featuring Paul the Cat and also his human sidekick Shell co-host. Steve Miller, nice to have you here. Tarek, nice to have you on board from Cairo, Egypt. I hear your name all the time everywhere. It's interesting. Glenn Hauser's World of Radio, and always find it interesting. I hear a lot of your names also. Some of you are writing to stations, and by accident I listen to the mailbag show or stuff, and I hear names that I know are people here in the chat room regularly, and I'm like, oh, I hope he's listening in and knows that his letter's been read on the air today. Pretty cool. What else do we have? Neil Toombs, nice to have you here. Neil from the UK, M0CJM. Always cool to have you on board. We have Canadian Radio TV guy. Nice to have you here from Alberta, Canada. Mr. J Spring, nice to have you here from Milton, Florida. Aerial Imaging, nice to have you on board. No, the boxes here are not boxes of radios. They are boxes. What's that box? Oh, that's the box of my mini PC that I'm using here. But by the way, for those that wonder, I had news of that radio that I was supposed to, that said it was delivered. So here's the story. You guys are going to find it funny. I guess you guys probably can see this. So you see these? No, you don't. Okay. I'm going to just do this. So here, you see these two little things hanging from my lamp. These are apparently Chinese handmade thingies that are there to wish their owners the best of luck and lots of money in life. So the story behind them is funny. I was ranting this week that I got a radio that was not delivered. It said delivered, but I didn't have it in my hands. So I was kind of going crazy about it. And it's a little misunderstanding. So I went on eBay. I claimed that I didn't receive the item and I wanted a refund. And the guy came back to me and he said, "Oh, sorry. It's like I sent you a message." And then I looked and I had a message. I just didn't see it. The radio was sent because it had a battery in it. It was sent back to him. So he had to use another company to send it back to me. So when it came back to him, it was actually tagged as delivered because it came back to him. So he said, "I'm so sorry. Look, your radio is on its way, but I used a different company to send you the radio now because I know that it's the only company that can send a radio with a battery in it." And says, "I'm so sorry. And I have actually sent you 2 little Chinese-made souvenirs that will help with your prosperity and have health and great and money and a great life." So these 2 little things came in the mail this week and are from that seller that obviously is a little stressed at the fact that I had started a I did not receive an item and want a refund thing, which of course I canceled because when he told me the story, it's like, "Oh, okay, no, I'm going to cancel the request." But these 2 little things came in the mail. So I'm supposed to get rich, healthy, and have everything in life eventually. So anyways, I put them there because I thought, well, okay, funny little story. And they're kind of radio related in a way. So that seller, at least, he's kind of nice. He's like, "Well, I'm sending you a little gift. I'm sorry." And, in reality, I was like, first of all, I was like, yeah, well, I didn't read the message, which I should have. Then I would not have gone nuts at not receiving it. And he didn't have to send me, as I will say it, crap. But, it's okay. It's here. If I get rich, thanks to these little things, I'll let you know. Okay. Ecadarius, it's a show about Paul the Cat. International Radio Report. I've heard that show before. Nice to have you here, Sheldon from Greenville Park, Quebec. And of course, we do have the International Radio Report. For those that don't know, it's a show about radio, 30 minutes on ckut.ca. And it's a show that is at 14:30 UTC every Sunday. That's 10:30 a.m. Eastern. And you can actually stream it live on ckut.ca. There's a 3-month archive with MP3s that you can download if you want to kind of listen to a podcast. But now we've added a little something more. We've got a YouTube channel. Typically, the show will be posted to the YouTube channel about 30 minutes after, not 30 minutes, an hour after it was actually aired live on CKUT. So within an hour and a half after the show was aired live, it's showing up on the YouTube channel. So if you want to have it before CKUT actually has it in its archive, here's the link to the YouTube channel. You can subscribe. Eventually, we're thinking of little things, little extras that we could add, including sometimes there's news about, some late breaking news that we need to talk about. We can't talk about it on the show because the show's passed, and maybe before the next show, it's already going to be passed, but we want to talk about it and let everybody know. We'll be able to, have late breaking news on the channel there. and some other extras that we're thinking eventually. So I think content will grow, and it's not just going to be the shows. It's going to be some other little content here and there that we had to kind of make it an even more interesting experience. So why not join in to the YouTube channel? And you could, of course, right now there are 4 shows. You can, of course, check out the 4 shows that are online right now, and I'll be posting the shows up to last year, March of last year, when we started doing the recording. And we'll be, of course, like I said, every Sunday we'll be posting the show about an hour and a half after it aired on CKUT. So it's another way to consume the great and fantastic International Radio Report Show with Sheldon Harvey and me, co-host Rufus Newt. Nice to have you on board from the Laurentian Valley, Ontario. Beautiful day here too. PLF Radio, bonjour et bienvenue. J'espère que ça va bien dans ton coin de pays en France. C'est toujours agréable d'avoir d'autres francophones et d'autres copains français. Bienvenue à bord. Michael Langer, nice to have you on board. What else do we have? From Chicago. What is Decoder 64? Keegan, X80Xer, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas. Matt, yeah, there was a Zoom meeting for the CIDX today. And you should have had the notice this week. Usually there's an email notice that's sent out a couple of days before. And of course, there's also the schedule of the monthly meeting. It's a monthly CIDX meeting that is available through Zoom. So you missed a 3-hour, very nice 3-hour meeting today. Kathleen, nice to have you on board from Germany. Tuned to the QO100 amateur satellite, FT 840 meters, and Inmarsat with our Raspberry Pi. That's multitasking with radio. Gerardo, nice to have you on board from West Michigan. Mark Elford, nice to have you on board from Vancouver Island, British Columbia. Mickey Dalmage, nice to have you here from Shorewood Park, Alberta, Canada. Chris66, nice to have you here from Kentucky. And happy first day of spring to you too. What else do we have? Eric Cottrell, bonjour, hi. Nice to have you on board. I was thinking about you again this week. I actually opened a box of fish wings. And I was almost thinking, it's like, can I send fish wings? No, I can't. They have to stay frozen. So I can't really send you fish wings through the mail. Oh, man. Terry Cook, nice to have you here. KF7BQ in Montana. We have Tarek says, I had a nice surprise from WRNB today, QSL card that goes back to a report sent in 2019. Wow. Badass welding videos. And you gotta read it, because you read that fast, it's badass wedding videos. It's like, no, it's welding videos. So you're gonna have your show tonight, 11 p.m. on 5950. That's what time zone? 11 p.m. exactly. First of all, is it Eastern time? If it's Eastern time, then that means it's 03 hours UTC on 5950. And what's the name of the show and what's about? Jerry DX, nice to have you here, my friend. BXRPL, nice to have you here from Poland. Jean-Marc Letz, bonjour et bienvenue de Strasbourg en Alsace de la France. C'est toujours un plaisir. Nice to have you on board. Weather's too cold for a start of spring. So here I am actually really thinking of putting up my my discount with the weather there. It's not going to be permanent. It's still going to be just to try out, but Michael Thompson, excellent idea. Reach out and provide some needed feedback. Absolutely. Let the stations know you're there. Planetary status update with Dan Sullivan. Okay. Terry Cook, $35 license fee for U.S. amateur radio operators starts in 30 days. So these are the changes coming to the U.S. amateur radio stuff. Canadian Radio TV guy was listening a little bit out of Radio Argentina via WRMI in 93.95. Heard that one of their sound engineers has passed away. Oh, sad. They are. Somebody was asking me the other day. They said so. They're never going to broadcast back from Argentina. So here's the thing about the. Here's the thing about the Argentina transmitter site. I know that. They. So one of the reasons they're on WRMI was because they couldn't. Get their signal out because the transmitter is broken in Argentina. And they had a hard time. I mean, the signal from Argentina was not very good. So they had a lot of issues, transmitter issues, antenna issues. So they, from what I heard last, which was maybe a couple of months ago, plans are there to try to fix that and have Argentina back via their transmitter site. But if you want my 2 cents worth on this, with how cheap it is to broadcast via WRMI and probably a much better audience that they're getting, I wouldn't be surprised that it's going to stay like that rather than having them back via Argentina. Call Icon, nice to have you on board from New York. Yep, Iceland had a volcanic eruption. So if you're listening to this, can make some interesting listening. If you like to listen to airplanes in the North Atlantic via the different air traffic control frequencies, you might actually hear some interesting communications there because often when there's volcanic eruptions, they might actually have planes go over different routes rather than the usual ones. Mr. J. Spring says WRMI is a great resource now that so many countries have stopped broadcasting. Yeah, and the relays are great. DK50NV, nice to have you here from Germany. Matt, too bad Radio Prague and the others don't have their own transmitters any longer. Yeah, you would totally listen to NHK or Voice of Turkey if they relayed from WRMI. I can't get them much from their own sites. So, yeah, relays are kind of nice. From what I understand, Radio Prague and Radio Slovakia were transmitting from pretty much the same location, which was part of course, Czechoslovakia before they separated. From what I understand, the transmitters and antennas are still up, but everything has been shut down because it costs too much money to run. So kind of interesting. What else do we have? William Helms, nice to have you here from Florida. Chris Alpha Tango, nice to have you on board. Says he had QSOs today on 20-meter band with a few Russian DX contests. Yeah, there's a Russian DX contest today. Absolutely. Mobile Armored Strike Command, nice to have you on board. Steve Miller, I'm writing to one of my favorite stations, Sting Show. Talk 100% audience participation, 100% visuals, 99% great job. Thanks, man. Chuck CB Davis completely agrees. Jamali Mr. Bell is hearing some weather facts on 8682. What else do we have? Yeah, Chuck CB Davis. It is, of course, fun to hear a station from their own location. That is true, but I'd rather have a relay than nothing at all. DK50NV says a shortwave radio station used to be the pride of every country in the world, no matter if rich or poor. Absolutely. Absolutely. It was the country's voice to the world. And it was nice to have that, you know. Really, really, really it was nice to have that. What else do we have? Tarek. So PLF radios sharing slow reflex 75. K index of 4, so it's in unsettled conditions. Tarek says, I miss the 80s when we used to pick up stations from all over the world direct from their homeland. But still, we'll never forget when Radio Venezuela and Radio Afghanistan were relayed via USSR. Jim, nice to have you here from Rhode Island. Trim Helder, Mr. Bale says, "For WRMI leave the air, DR." Yeah, that would make a really big dent in our North American shortwave listening in the evening. What else do we have? What else do we have? Christian Marcourt, bonjour. Et bienvenue from Ontario, Canada. Thank you for the birthday wishes, everybody. Chas Tank, nice to have you here from Louisville, Kentucky. And what else do we have? M-Stacks. All RCI needs to do is have big prize contesting if they want to see how many folks are listening. Nobody's listening online. That's for sure. Pretty much nobody's listening online. And there's so many ways to know when there's an audience. What else do we have? Thomas Lane, nice to have you here from Grand Rapids, Michigan. And did Paul get me a gift? He gives me a gift every day with his love. Nilo, nice to have you here from Aruba, South Caribbean. Cool. Nice to have you here. Everybody saying hello to Elizabeth. Spike Spikerson, nice to have you on board. Well, here it's not the tundra where I live, but up north it's frozen. We're getting some nice temperatures. M Stack says, got the MLA 30 this week. Brings new life to shortwave, medium wave listening on my SDR Duo in Berkeley, California, and 6 RLS. Cool. Happy to hear that. Ricardo, nice to have you on board from Portugal. Andrew Simpson, nice to have you here. Thanks again, everybody, for the birthday. I'm hitting 52 today, 52 years of age. Pyric Nolan, nice to have you on board from Ireland. What else do we have? Says, here's to another trip around the sun. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. What else do we have? Leon Hutchison, nice to have you here. Jet Crafter, nice to have you on board, grilling some rats, watching you. Cool. Gerardo says, I agree with you, Gilles, regarding the lack of understanding that our political leaders have on shortwave. Yeah. It's money that decides. So nice to have you here from the UK, Leon. Robert Osborne, nice to have you on board from Niagara Falls. Carol Potch, nice to have you here from Florida. Janny73, nice to have you here from Finland. Robert Cross, nice to have you on board. Lee Burkett, nice to have you here from the UK. Nice to have you on the show. Chris Alpha Tango and 3WER. Keijo Hotti, nice to have you here from Finland. And he says listens every week. Cool. Welcome aboard. Nice to have people from Nordic countries. Paul Robinson, nice to have you here from the UK. And about the SDR, no software. Will the RTL SDR v3 work on? Okay, nope. SDR Uno is specific pretty much to the SDR Play devices. Pretty much. There was I'm trying to remember. There was a version that worked within RTL SDR, if I'm not mistaken. Can somebody double check that? Thomas Olson, nice to have you here. What else do we have? Let's try to catch up a little bit more. Robert Osborne is listening to 9420, which is the Greece station. Let's see if I hear a voice of Greece here. 9420. Yep. Pretty good with some Greek music. Some Greek music. Gerardo, government think internet replace shortwave. Millions of people in the world that don't have access to computers and internet. Shortwave offers privacy protection and access to people where freedom of speech is not respected. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, there is a big difference between a great deal of money and being rich. Absolutely. So, cool. Nice to have all of you here. PLF Radio says the Texan PL330 is out of stock again, so it has a great success. I mean, for the price and all the features it has, it's a winner. I can tell you that. So, a Canadian Radio TV guy says next stream we will notice that the background Jill will have the waterfall and a 90-inch TV. Full luxury ham shack with an ICOM 7800 and studio quality audio. Oh, man. Wearing my fur coat. Oh, man. Keegan, I missed the first 8 minutes of the International Radio Report in CQT. So I went to the YouTube channel, listen again. So that's a good way of going to whatever you missed. GA1DAD or GA1 Dad. And 4RBZ representing South Carolina. Cool. I'm sorry you missed the live stream on Wednesday. It happens. Yeah, Rick, hopefully the border will open at some point. There's starting to be some pressures here to try to open that up. There's been a lot of pressure on the government to try to relax the rules with the border, but most Canadians don't want it to open, not for now. We'll see. Randy in Riverside, California, nice to have you here. Carlos Aguila, nice to have you here. Carlos in Mexico. Pretty cool to have all of you here. Let's see. As we continue going down slowly. Oops, I went back a little too far right here. And they have some of those air traffic control frequencies. So, okay, let's talk about that a little bit. We'll take a little pause here. So, if you want to listen to transatlantic air traffic control, so of course in North America, East Coast, what we have is mostly Gander in Newfoundland, Canada, and New York that is broadcasting on those frequencies. You guys in the European side of things, you'll have, of course, Shanwick, Santa Maria. There's Iceland. There's one of those. Those are just a few of them. Some of the frequencies that you should monitor. So North Atlantic Route A is 13306, 8906, 5598, which is that one that I hear a lot of traffic. 8906 also. That's just out of curiosity, you put 8906 here in upper sideband and see if in the background, just put it low in the background if we hear any communications. There's also the North Atlantic Family B, which is 5616, 8864, 13291. North Atlantic Family C, which is 5649, 8879, and 11336. I'm going to share the link to this page anyways here. You guys can take a look. All the frequencies for the major world air route areas, or what we often say is MOARA. These are all the frequencies, and you have the Atlantic, the Pacific, the Caribbean ones. So this is a great resource for anybody that wants to know where to listen for air traffic. I will post that here, so you guys can take a look at that, and you'll have all the air traffic information. And these are the frequencies that are used. Remember, air traffic information is not as high as it was before COVID, although it is getting better. So there'll be more and more traffic on these frequencies as we progress, probably through 2021, for sure. Yeah, until now, it's up to April 21st. Absolutely, Eric. Yeah, there are several plugins. I think the WeatherFax Decoder plugin is from Black Cat Systems. Yeah, well, Radio Free Europe still exists, Mr. J Spring. There's still some broadcasts from Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, in different, like in Russian and different languages. Mr. Bale, if someone, you never know. You never know. It's funny sometimes how you can have a next door neighbor that might be a shortwave listener and you never knew about it. So, Bobby Burgess really love Uno if they made a G-Predict plugin just like in SDR Sharp. Yeah, more and more plugins are being done for SDR Uno. And so I think with time, you'll have more and more choices. For now, of course, SDR Sharp is the king of plugins. Warburg 3 Acre. Warbreaker, probably. Good afternoon. Where are you located, my friend? Mad Reader DXer, nice to have you here from the UK. Jeff King, nice to have you here from Florida, washing cars. Joe Simonis, nice to have you here. Joe from Ohio. Joe Tyson, nice to have you here from North Carolina, KM4WRQ. What else do we have? Greg, nice to have you here. Greg from Virginia. Been watching your live show for over a year. First time on chat. Welcome aboard. And he put an MLA 30 Plus up today. You like it? Hope it's doing well for you. And welcome aboard. Hector Vasquez, nice to have you here from Los Angeles, California. Daniela, nice to have you here. Good evening. Decent F2 opening on 27 megahertz. With Mr. 147 coming in strong. Let's check it out here. Let's go to, we're going to punch in. Seems rather quiet here. Go here, lower sideband. Seems quiet right now. So ups and downs of the openings. What else do we have? Canadian Radio TV guy says I find myself listening to Coast AM with George Noory more often now on 1180 KFOI in Montana. So he's losing sleep. Well, it's fun. Medium wave DXing is fun. I mean, with the amount of stations out there, trying to null out some of the stations to get something else. It's something that I've never seriously done AM DXing in my hobby. My AM DXing is more casual. I will turn on the radio one night, when I'll be on shortwave and it's like, nothing really interesting. What's going to happen is I'm going to just out of the blue, you know what? Let's go to medium wave and see what's out there. And, I'll pass a few hours DXing and mostly listening and checking out what's out there. But I should do it more often, because when I look at the fact that I did receive Radio Rebelde from Cuba, at one point, which was a total surprise for me because I had never received Cuba on medium wave up here in Montreal. It told me, you know what? You should take more time to DX the medium wave band. You'd be surprised what you can get. So thank you for the birthday wishes, everyone, once again. Joseph Egenbaum, nice to have you here from Central Coast of California. Beautiful day, great propagation last night. Looking forward to exploring how the bands are today. Cool. A little rougher because with the K index being a little higher. Can you get a QSL card from a relay station? Well, you can actually ask WRMI for its own QSL. They do have a QSL. So if you write to for a QSL, you can actually write directly to WRMI, say you are listening to a relay of whatever station, and ask for a QSL card from WRMI. SoCal, nice to have you here from San Diego. Kevin Wood, nice to have you on board from Nova Scotia, Canada. Joseph says NHK World Radio Japan coming at 11,630. Strong on his GP5 with an MLA 30 plus, west facing at 2055 UT. By the way, for those, we're here, for those that are waiting for an export version of this thing, two things are happening. I have heard that April might be the release of the export version. So the Texan PL 368 might have its official export version in April. But also, Nick Casarino from Connicom was telling me that they're hoping for also an April release of the Connicom version, which would have a better antenna, more rigid, so that it doesn't break easily. So it'd have a few changes on it. So hang in there, guys. That little radio's coming, and it's nice little package. That's another nice package in a radio that is just amazing. So, Mr. J. Spring, I think what we need to get younger people involved in shortwave, but how? That's a big question. The most basic question is even worse than that, is how do you get somebody in our hobby? You have to wow the person. It has to be somebody that's curious. It has to be somebody that can imagine that, hey, I'm receiving a station from the other side of the Atlantic Ocean on their little radio. How cool can that be? You got to bring that into the context that today they are surrounded with, what we didn't have back then. When I started the hobby in 1982, there was no internet. There was no global thing that everybody can watch all over the world. So it's easy to impress because it's like, oh, look at that. This radio gets stations from everywhere around the world. You have to do the same thing today. Get them into the hobby and thinking, well, they're going to probably look at you and say, I can tune a million stations from all over the world over the internet. I don't see what's what's cool about your radio. Plus the fact that it's clear, crystal clear rather than staticky or whatever. That's one thing. And you know what? Being a radio geek is very unique to us. You know, what explains that we hooked to radio? What explains that we just decided that this was so cool? You know, I look at me and I go back when I was a teen. A friend of mine was really found it that very cool. One of my best friends. He actually had a realistic DX100 also. And we thought it was the coolest thing in the world. But then, you look at around and you look like, I remember my brother always like waking up in the morning. It's like, oh, you're listening to that static again. And you're like, yeah, what makes us different? What makes me attracted? What keeps me attracted to radio? Why is it that I have something on this waterfall or on the portable receiver here and it's like, oh, this is from Brazil. This is so cool because I'm hearing a signal from Brazil up to here. I am amazed. And somebody else will look at it and say, oh, that's nice. And just not really care. It's tough to explain why someone gets hooked to something in particular. I guess it's the same thing as why someone gets hooked to collecting stamps or, playing golf or whatever. There's something that attracts you to a certain thing, to a certain hobby, and it's very unique to you. And your best friend might look at it and say, okay, that's boring. What is it? I don't know. I was hooked. I was amazed at the fact that I could hear the world. Not everybody is. A lot are like, yeah, well, they're static and it's kind of annoying and so what? But that said, we got to be careful about all of it and the opinions we get or even our own opinion of what somebody thinks about it. Because I'll give you an example. I remember, my brother was always saying, oh, that's static. You're listening to static. And which is how all of us are greeted with most people around us. Oh, you're listening to that static again. But I do remember my brother having a girlfriend and he brings his girlfriend home for the first time. His girlfriend looks at my radios. And he, to impress, I guess, and impress the girlfriend with his brother, that is the geek, he says, oh, he's listening to stations from all over the world, and he's got these letters from all over the world, thanks to the radio. Oh, wow, that's great. That's so cool, And using that as a not only am I a great guy, but look at my brother. He's a great guy doing that. And it's so funny. It's like using, but the next day when the girlfriend's not there, it's like, comes back and says, oh, you're listening to that noise again. It's one of those things that like, yeah, so you try to impress your girlfriend with me listening to shortwave. Man. Maybe you should have been more impressive if you listened to shortwave. Maybe not. Kimberly, nice to have you on board. K6YYL. Hope you are well in California. Kathleen, can't wait to see the review on the Malachite radio. Well, I can't wait to have it in my hands and test it out. It's going to be interesting. It's a Chinese one, I know, but it is going to be interesting. So it's kind of cool. Catalin says, so I have the U-loop antenna on a window. A small dish is pointed behind the window, so the 10 gigahertz signal is coming through the U-loop. Yeah, but your U-loop is not designed to, really resonate at the 10 gigahertz signal. So it's, UVB76, nice to have you here from the UK. Nice to have you on board. Thank you for the, yep, my birthday is actually today, March 20th. Joseph says, April, that is soon. I'd buy the Connicom version for those guys rock. I know that when they do get it, they are supposed to send me one. So this is going to be nice. I'll be able to compare the Connicom version. So this is going to be cool. And you guys are going to be able to buy it from, Connicom rather than buying it on eBay or whatever with the Texan version. Canadian Radio TV Guy, did anyone listen to the WENR medium wave test broadcast? So I tried, and I was never able to hear anything, unfortunately, here on my radios. So I posted a video of me using a receiver in North Carolina or something like that was receiving it. Christian Hohensteiner, nice to have you here from Germany. Just got the PL990X because of my reviews. Fun radio. Happy birthday. Cool. Hope you like it. It is a nice radio. It feels quality when you use it also. Trembelli Mr. Bale, birthday on March 16, 25. Cool. Matt says, why not ask some of the younger people here how they got into shortwave listening? I tend to think that the internet divide between those who grew up with it versus those who didn't is hard to cross, but they did it. Once again, it's a question of I think it's a question of who we are. We just find it cool that the radio can receive stations from over the world. So so for all of those in the chat room that are, let's put it at a maximum of 30 years of age. If you're younger than 30 years of age, what brought you to radio? How did it start? And why do you like it? RTM, nice to have you on board from the Napa Valley, California. Rob Johnson, nice to have you here. UVB76 says noise and interference adds to the old experience. One thing for sure is there's a challenge, and we probably are hooked in a way because of partly of the challenge that we could have. Trembelli Mr. Bell is just saying that. So, for example, internet is not a challenge. On the internet, I want to listen to a station from, here, a great example that I'm going to just do right here. Look at that. So I'm going to go, I'm even going to take my phone here. Okay. I'm going to go. And what I'm going to do here is go to an app. I'm going to go to I believe I have Soundgarden here. Where's the apps? Do I have a Soundgarden or whatever app that I have for? Okay, TuneIn. Here we go. And I'll just search for, I'll search for, okay, what's available from Bulgaria? And search. And here I've got region, Bulgaria. Okay. And of course, I can now even switch to a province for Plovdiv province, for example. And then I got Bulgaria, Plovdiv province, Bulgaria, and click in. Now, it's not going to be in a language I probably understand, but after this 30-second ad that is playing, I should have my content. So that's easy. There's no challenge in here. You just type, a country, you just type whatever you're searching for. And once that is done, you have access to whatever content. Don't think about it. I could have linked via Bluetooth on the console. So here's my content that's starting now, which is opening. So that's music right now, but I mean, it's a station from Bulgaria that is not here, but this is a station from Bulgaria that is streaming on my device. I mean, what's the challenge in here? Absolutely, there's no challenge in here. I mean, thank you, Gerardo, for the donation. We'll be keeping that in buying a new radio. All the money that goes to the PayPal account is put towards new radios. So it's money for maybe a Belka. Who knows? Maybe I will go for a Belka DSP and check that out. That could be a nice new receiver. So why not? So thanks for the donation, Gerardo. Keegan, X80Xer. Question. You say you're 24. Your dad is licensed ham. For you, do you think your dad had was a big reason why you are a radio fan also? Because you thought it was so cool? Do you think that, because, once again, we can look at families. It's not because dad or mom is a ham that the kids are going to be amateur radio operators. They see it, but they might not be interested in it. That's where everything is complex when you think about it. It's how all of that is getting together and having you enjoy the hobby. What is triggering that experience? Now, we talked about one of the triggers, which is the challenge. And I think part of the listening experience and what we do is the challenge of, will I hear that country? Will I hear that station? And trying to hear some new country all the time. So there's a challenge there. That's definite. I mean, that's part of my trigger. I will admit, one of my own personal triggers of why I continue and I like it is the fact that there's a challenge, and maybe I'll hear a country I never heard before. That's for sure. Kev Michael, nice to have you here. Sapporo, Japan on 1287 and at 8 p.m. at Hawaii time. Cool. I need to go to Hawaii one day, or all the days that are left in my life. DX from there. Mr. J Spring, my experience has been that kids enjoy listening to hams. They think it's funny, but I wish they would get into music and culture from other countries. Then again, that is a very different thing. I like culture from other countries. I've said it before. Some of you do like it. I am not a big fan of listening to music, but it is important that it exists. For example, Radio Romania has its Romanian music show. Now, I don't listen to that because I'm not a big fan of that, but I would not tell them to stop doing it because I'm sure some of you are fans of that. And that's important. We have to have a style and some programs that appeal to everybody. But I will stay, hooked to my radio when they have anything that talks about Romania, Romanian culture. I love their series where they talk about Romania in the times of communism. These are all things that I appeal to when I listen to the radio. So it depends on everybody. And I think we are all different in there, for sure. Let's go down slowly. Chris66, many millennials and younger have a fascination with cassette tapes, albums, turntables, and retro items. That is great. Gives me hope for shortwave and ham. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's something about it. They find out these old mediums, these old ways of delivering music and content, and are like big fans of it. There's something about it that they find cool, which is nice, honestly. Tremali, Mr. Bell, what got me into shortwave is three things. One, my dad being a ham. Two, my dad getting an IC 756 Pro 2. One day seeing one of his radios while out driving, tuned to 147.24 megahertz. KW1161, nice to have you on board from Tucson, Arizona. Kev Michael has Hokkaido 1315 in Japanese. Cool. Mobile Armored Strike Command. Grandpa Monster was the character that got me hooked into shortwave and amateur radio. It is interesting. Artist Ali Crafter's Kitchen. Nice to have you here from Massachusetts. There are naysayers back when I started in the hobby. There are more of them today. It usually reflects lack of emotional intelligence when others don't get it. You know, we can't all be shortwave listeners. We can't all be amateur radio operators. The world is diversified. Some people like it, some people don't. Some people, some people cannot sit down in front of radio and just do radio. They're going to like, what the hell? One of the things that I noticed, and it at an extent where I can almost do I would almost be able to do a science lecture on it, because it was so true. When I would fix computers, I noticed that the more somebody is inclined to using their hands to build stuff, the less they are interested and play around with computers, and they usually do because they have to more than because they want to. And it was obvious because I had, for example, construction guys that needed to use a computer, because a lot of the stuff today is done with computers. The more, the guy that would be in front of me that would build a house with his own hands had more difficulty understanding and getting the grasp of a computer. And I often thought about, so maybe the way our brain is wired, the more you're inclined for certain things, maybe your brain isn't wired for that other type of thing. Our brain is possibly wired in a way that goes in a direction and makes it more difficult for you to see other directions. And also, it's interesting. That was an aspect, I sometimes I tell people I should have been, I should have gone in psychology or something, because when I did fix computers, seeing what you do in life, the type of person you are, and how good or bad you are with a computer, there are patterns, and I did see the patterns. They're not just, one example that it's like that. That said, there is one, there will be the exception to the rule. There will be that guy that can build you a house on his own and be good on the computers also. There'll be that mix. But you see a tendency of the more manual labor the person is, the less often they were good with computer and the understanding of it. It was just the brain is wired to actual real life stuff. The computer is more of virtual stuff. Your brain isn't wired for a virtual life. It's wired for an actual real thing that you build, that you do, that you have in your hands. And I think there was that when we look at the radio hobby, I think there's a lot of that probably going on. Depending on what your basic, interests, the way you are capable of grasping more of why we geek on radio than others. We see a lot of patterns also in the radio hobby. One of them being a lot of similarities. I've seen it a lot here when we talk together about what we like. And you suddenly notice that, so you're a radio hobbyist, but you like electronics. You like, there's a pattern of you also like electronics, and you might like stamp collecting, and you might be into that side of hobbies that a lot of people are not. And you kind of notice there's a pattern, there's a way of thinking, there's a way of us being who we are that drives you towards radio and makes you kind of inclined to love radio and be amazed with it. Kamazzi76, thanks for the birthday wishes. Question to you. Would there be any way to have my PL330 and my RSP1A connected at the same time with one SMA connector, maybe a SMA splitter? A splitter is not the best way to do it, because a splitter is something that will have the electronics of the radios kind of bonded together at the antenna level. That means that there could be noise induced from one to the other, that there could be, even if it's not noise. I've noticed, for example, because I did that for a while, what I would do, I'd have my own little cable that was kind of, manually rigged, and I'd have connectors, and I could put up to 3 portables together. Problem is, some portables together didn't have any interactions and it would work great, but I did notice that when I plugged in one, sometimes it would lower the level of signals on the others, or make noise, or do stuff. So it's not the best, and especially with the RSP1A being a computer-connected device, you might actually bring in a lot of noise into your PL330 because of that. So that's the reason why I got mine. Is expensive, but that's the reason why I got the I'm going to show you guys here. That's the reason why I got this multi-coupler. This is an electronic device. The antenna, the MLA30, is up here, and at the bottom here, up to 4 radios, totally isolated from each other. So the best thing that you could do would be to have a some kind of device that can split the output from the same antenna, but at the same time isolate each radio from each other to make sure they don't interfere with each other. Steven, nice. Thanks for the happy birthday and great DX. Sergeant Rock, nice to have you on board. Thanks for the birthday wishes. Evans the Spy, nice to have you on board. Thanks for the happy birthday. Kind of interesting. XADX, what got me into shortwave is my dad being a ham, having a Hallicrafters SX62 and ICOM IST706. Okay, kind of interesting. Tom DXer, I think one of the ways to get younger people more involved in shortwave lies with SDRs. They are extremely computer literate. You got to be careful with that, Tom DXer, Because my personal experience, when we talk about computers, is that they're not computer literate. They know how to use it, and that's a very different thing. Being computer literate and actually just using a computer is two very distinct things. And I saw that all the time. When I would go and fix computers, I got interviewed by a magazine, a local magazine here in Quebec. At the height, at the peak of when I was really like fixing tons of computers everywhere. One of my clients was a journalist. She asked me if I wanted to participate in an article that actually I have here. I can see it here. I found it the other day. And she asked me questions about what I thought. And one of them was, well, are you afraid of your job because all the young generation now know how to use computers and they don't need you anymore? And I immediately said, what I see is a bunch of youngs that, they're young, they know how to do what they want to do. They have no idea of the inside, if something doesn't work right, they have no idea how to go into the settings, the control panel, the stuff like that. They're completely lost in that side of things. They are users. They are not good with computers. A very, very, very different thing. There's a certain level, like all of us that are geeks and that are really maniacs of using the computer. But when you look at who they are and what they do, a 20-year-old guy today isn't better with computers than people my age. In general, they knew how to use it. They don't know how to fix it or how to fix a problem that comes with it. It's very, very different. We got to be careful with what that perception we have of because it comes up on the news all the time. Oh, like they have they're 8 years old and got an iPad in their hands and whatever. It's like, yeah, doesn't mean they're going to be good with computers. It has nothing to do with it. They know how to use it. That's all. So an SDR could be appealing for some, absolutely. But I would tell you that a 20-year-old guy has as much challenge as a 60-year-old guy understanding SDR Uno, the panels, and how the things work. I don't think there's a difference there. Except, for the small portion that is very tech savvy. Paul Richardson heard Shortwave at a friend's house, age 12 years old in the 80s. Cool. David in Barcelona, nice to have you on board. Mad Reader DX or the Call of Duty games have brought awareness of shortwave with number stations, so video games could also help bring more awareness to the younger generation. I am still amazed. I mean, it made me, I think we all got surprised when that happened. I would like to know who was behind the idea that they are going to actually have special Call of Duty editions that contain the Texan PL 880 in it. And that there was that Easter egg thing where you had to know where to listen on shortwave to tune that number station. That was, first of all, brilliant. What a hell of a way to do something. Will some of those that succeeded in that get into the hobby eventually and be part of this, part of everything? I don't know. It's interesting, but definitely it's a way to do something. Heavens to Spice is from Wales. Call of Duty games are very representative of the reality of war, because a lot of the Call of Duty games, what they have is missions that actually are from real world, moments of war. For example, I still remember playing. I played a lot of Call of Duty, and I remember the one where you're in France, and you gotta help and go through, and the missions and the things that are done are actual real missions that existed, put into a game. Uh, I think that could appeal to a young, a teenager that had that radio, that understands that their Call of Duty game is actually a game that uses real world events. And if you make him understand that what you heard there, that number station that was for fun for your game, is actually the reality of radio, and add to that and have someone tell them, these number stations, they exist for real still today. I'm sure if you would have one of those kids that was able to tune that signal, and you would just tell them, look, punch in 11635 today at that time, you're going to hear Spanish numbers. It's the same thing, but that's the real life with spies. Mark Elford, Shell, is there a phenomenon of thinking you hear something on the X thing that's not there? I've been listening to 50,000, 52,000, and I'm sure I keep hearing someone walking, mumbling around a pizza place. You probably at 49 megahertz. So you mentioned 50 megahertz. You're probably around 49 megahertz, and there's probably a baby monitor of some sort. There's a lot of those on the 49 megahertz range still today. Oh yeah, Joseph. The apps and what I'm talking about here is not at all in thinking that is shouldn't be there and it's not fun. It's cool to have these apps and to have the possibility to hear and get something from all over the world over the internet. It's that's for sure. UVB 76, love listening to foreign stations, even if I can't understand the language. Simplio, nice to have you here. So you got a Seek Range Skywave SSB. Cool. Hope you're having fun with it. Aerial imaging. I don't think you can get people into this hobby. I think you have to be born wired a certain way. Since childhood, I have a thing for radios. I had literally no friends who shared it. Yeah, it's totally. That's what I pretty much saying. It's the way our brains are wired. We kind of love it. Voice Love says Belka is great. Only downside is it doesn't go below 1.5 megahertz. Be sure to order it from Belarus directly. It is cheaper. I'll check that. That could be one eventually. That could be interesting to see for sure. So Keegan says his dad is a big reason is a ham. Kimberly, do you have a date to test for amateur radio, or did you do that already? I actually am still waiting for them to come back to me for the actual thing. If I don't have any news within the next week, I was thinking of a few other things to do. So by the end of the year, I should have my license at some point. I'm going to check it out. Mad Radio DXer, obviously I am way over 30, but I got into shortwave because I had family friends that always had a shortwave radio in the background listening to BBC World Service, and it got me very curious. Here I got into radio thanks to the fact that a multi-band radio came into the house through my dad. Although I was rather fascinated with radio listening. I remember when I had my boombox. So there are two things I would do in my boombox. I would listen to Shum FM, or there was another station that I would listen to for more like pop music, which was CKMF. Those were the two stations pretty much I was tuned to on the FM band for my music. But I often went to the AM side on my boombox because I found it fascinating. There was something, when you say you can't describe why, there was, of course, in 1984-ish, there are a lot more local AM stations in Montreal. There's a lot of little stations from, smaller cities around Montreal, which are all gone today. The majority are all gone. So you would tune the AM band, and there would be the big local stations on the AM band. So you would have, CFCF on 600. You'd have CBC French 690, CKAC French language talk station on 730. We would have CJ80 800. We would have 940, which was the CBC English. We would have 1280 was CGMS, which was another talk station. We would have 1570 was CKLM, which was a station out of Laval, just up north. But in between those big gun stations that were coming in really loud, there was a lot of little frequencies with stations from, I remember 1240 was Saint-Hyacinthe. There was a station there. And one of the reasons that I would tune in these stations was I was amazed that I could hear a station from that far away on a radio. There was something for me that was appealing at, look at that. I hear a station from Saint-Hyacinthe to here. It's not that it's very far. And there was another side to it, is that one of my friends that came to Montreal for the summertime. So there was this guy that we would hang out all the time as a teenager. He lived in Saint-Hyacinthe, but what happened is in the summertime when school was off, he'd spend his summer here in Montreal. And we had some things that would actually be fun because he had walkie-talkies. Actually, I'll give you the full story of this. So that guy lives in Saint-Hyacinthe. He came here. So when school would end at the end of June, he would arrive here maybe the first week of July. And he would leave around the end of August, just before school started. He would spend all of the summer here at his aunt's place. I never asked why. Today I figure out, why did you spend all that time in Montreal and not with your parents? But anyways, it's not the kind of things you ask when you're young. We became friends because I had a walkie-talkie, which was a TRC. The first one that I had from Radio Shack that I purchased, I think, was a TRC2. It was the one with 1 watt only, and it was 3 channels. But of course, you needed the crystals, so I didn't have the crystals. So I was stuck on channel 14. And one day I say, hello, anybody out there? And somebody answers. And it turns out that it's a guy that is, he's at the corner of the street, but on the other street. It's, if I lived on 13th Avenue, he was at the corner, but he was at the corner of 12th Avenue, which wasn't very far, but we could talk, and it was a pretty good signal between both of them. And he had a cheaper one. He had the ones that were like just 100 milliwatts, but because we were close, it would work. And I remember we talked, when you say you love radio, it was kind of cool. For me, it was cool that we were talking, and probably for him too. So we talked, man, I think we talked like for 3 hours that night. It came up to him saying, okay, well, I got to go to bed now. So, okay, well, talk to you again. And we had regular contacts up to a point where I said, well, you're at the corner of the street. Why don't we meet up in person? And we met up. And for several years, he was kind of my summer buddy. It was like, we were often doing things together, going to play tennis. We would play frisbee. We would do all sorts of things. We'd go to a swimming pool together, all of that. It was like the summer, I had my summer friend with my other friends that I had already. And one of the things about that station from Saint-Hyacinthe was also is because I would tell him, I said, oh, there's that station in Saint-Hyacinthe on 1240. And he would immediately say, oh, yeah, that station, they have a call-in. They have a call-in show at night where you can request the songs you want to hear. And I would listen to that with him, and sometimes alone, thinking, wow, this is cool. This is a station from the city where my friend comes from. There was something cool about it. And they had a request show in the night. And I still remember there was always the same guy every single night calling in to ask for Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. And it was every single night. I think I listened in for like a full summer, and it's like I heard Stairway to Heaven every single night for 2 months in a row. But it's one of those things that you're like, I think about it today. I'm like, wow, we lost contact because when we got a little older, then he didn't come back to Montreal anymore, and we didn't have any way to contact each other. Once he was leaving back to Saint-Hyacinthe, we didn't talk. We didn't talk for all winter. But I was always thinking, I wonder he's going to come back in July, and I'm going to have my summer friends, and so that maybe happened for three summers in a row. And then my summer friend didn't come back, and we never contacted again. Funniest part is I know his first name, but I don't know his family name. So I don't know his last name. So even if I would like to find him, I have no idea what his last name was. It's one of those things that you're like, today I'm like, why did I ask him for his last name? That's so weird. And but we had fun, and I saw his aunt maybe, I was 20, 21, and it was at a bus stop, and I recognized her. And she smiled. She said, hey, how are you doing? Long time no see. And I wanted to ask more, but the bus was arriving, and she had to go in the bus. Because if I had more time, I wanted to ask, how is he doing? And, maybe ask a little more information, or if I can contact him or something, But it's one of those things that it's life is weird in that way sometimes. And I was a guy that was very, back then I was a guy that was very shy. And when you're shy, making friends is a tough one. I had my two big friends that we were always doing stuff together. But I didn't have really, I wouldn't, I was not the one going forward to be friends with somebody. I was more of a loner when my standard friends were not there. I was pretty much more of a loner in doing my own stuff and not really asking for anything, Most of the times when something happened, it was the others that were asking. I remember going to the park once, and I remember it was I was bored. It was like one of those hot summer days, and it was like I was bored. I was like, what am I going to do today? And I went to the park, and I remember there was these three guys playing, kind of playing baseball, And I remember one of the guys looked at me and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "Nothing much. Want to play baseball?" Yeah, cool. Because they were happy. There was one more guy playing baseball with them, And I was like, yeah, cool. Okay. So that was always the way it was working. But, we weren't friends. We were friends for a day, and that I admire when we are young, that we have that capability of having a friend for a day. You'll go to the park, you're alone, the guy's alone, or the girl's alone, and for a day you're together doing stuff, having fun, talking, playing around. And then, everybody goes home, and well, that was my day friend. And maybe we'll never see each other again, or if we do, even more weird when you think about it is you see that person, that friend, a month and a half later, but he's with another friend, and you're like, you don't even look at each other, you don't even talk. It's like, well, we had fun that day, but that's over now. You were my friend for that afternoon. That's it. Funny things sometimes. David Exer, comment ça va? Ça va bien. J'espère que tu vas bien, toi. Carl, nice to have you here. Errol Imaging, I was an annoying kid, always trying to hand someone my second toy walkie-talkie. Anyone would think it. Canadian Radio TV guy. Fun fact, I never knew. Whoops. I'll try to get there a little faster here because I'm talking a lot today about all sorts of things. I try to go down. So where was I? Okay, here I am. Fun fact, never knew foreign language was a thing till I got into radio at 5 years old. Yeah, when we're young, we don't know nothing. We're totally ignorant of our world around us, Kathleen, hard to explain that. I was always fascinated about radio. I remember as a kid, RC car, walkie-talkie, crystal radio. You know what? RC radio-controlled cars. What fascinated me is not just that they were radio-controlled, but man, I wanted to know how far that signal of that transmitter was going. And I was doing all sorts of things to try to have the radio-controlled car control as far as I can, and finding ways to have it controlled as far as I can before it comes back. That was radio geekness in its pure sense, I can tell you that. Oh, man. Chastank, a great movie that makes shortwave listeners and hams look cool will get many into the community. Oh, absolutely. That definitely is something for sure. Definitely. Canadian Radio TV guy says at 5 I had a CD radio boombox, and my brother and I were tuning around the AM band and came across our old French broadcast in 7:30. Now no longer. We both looked at each other and laughed. Mr. Bell says some of us get tired of the current digital stuff and like to look upon the old stuff that say where where it came from and everything. Yeah. Canadian Radio TV guy says we both laughed our asses off trying to figure out what the hell they were speaking. That's the first time I heard a foreign language. Yeah, that's, it stuck with you, but not with him. There is something different in your brains and the wiring of your brains that you found fascinating. You didn't find it fascinating enough, to continue. But it was crazy. Matt, appeal of vinyl LPs is pretty clear. They still sound better in CDs and other media, and that's not true of shortwave. Yeah. RJD Dakota, nice to have you on board, my friend. Man. Terry Cook, the CB radio craze of the early 70s was a driver of radio enthusiasts of its time. long time ago. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that was a radio. That was what made a lot of guys go into, the CB craze brought a big chunk of amateur radio enthusiasts. They wanted something more. It's like, oh, look at that ham radio. That looks even cooler than CB radio. For sure, TVDXer wired to ICOM. Man, it's pretty crazy. Chastang High School still has a student-run radio and TV station, not closed circuit. WNAS 88.1. Interesting. Aerial imaging. Question about 30. How many feet of coax lead does it provide between the antenna and the radio and terminal box? If you had an extender between them, will you experience loss? I don't know how long it is, but it's pretty long. If you look here, I probably have at least 15 feet, I'd say. It's a pretty long one. And being an amplified antenna, even if you make it a little longer, it shouldn't be that much of a problem, honestly. Dimitri, what bring me to radio hobby is a Cold War propaganda to hear the American radio station, the Voice of America. Merci TVDXR pour le joyeux anniversaire. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting to see the way things are. Shortwave Pirate Outhouse Radio active on 6930 upper sideband. Let me try it out here. 6930. Nothing much happening right now here. It's crazy. Didn't listen to Brother Stare. The moaning sessions. Gerardo, I have an MFJ 2702 switch where I connect two radios to one antenna, but you can only use one radio at a time. Yeah, it's an antenna switch. MFJ 2703 can connect three radios to one antenna, but you can only use, their antenna switches. Dimitri says, being grown up on the other side of the world, in order to find truth, what is going on in your country, you have to listen to foreign country stations. Yeah. Jean-François Trudel, radio, guitare et astronomie. That was that sounds like me. Cool one. Thanks for your vigil. Superb. Can Chad help me? I forgot the website that has all the AM FM radio station worldwide. It's a radio archaic website, has separate pages for AM FM. Can anybody help with the website? KW1161 says your computer analogy is the difference between driving a car and fixing one. Absolutely. Absolutely. WRMI is not going off the air, Trimbali, Mr. Bell. I said if we were talking about if WRMI would go off the air, how bad it would be. There's no, absolutely, they're not going off the air. John McClure, nice to have you here. Vaislav, maker community attracts a lot of young people. When some of them get bored and yet another led flashing project, it would be nice to offer them some radio-related projects. Yeah. Aerial imaging, by the way, I tried connecting more than one radio to one receive antenna. It doesn't work. As soon as you plug the second radio in line, it nulls out the receive signal entirely for both. Yeah, it depends on the radios. Some radios have more interaction than others. That's why I have my multi-coupler. Avid tea drinker got his PL380 yesterday and loving it. Was happy that I was able to pick up shortwave frequencies. Cool. In radio TV guys, sadly, I would think most of those Call of Duty gamers just threw their PL880 up on the shelf somewhere and hasn't touched it since. Oh, yeah, that's for sure. There's a lot of them that are probably not doing anything with it. Esteban, nice to have you here from the Canary Islands. And hello from a brand new radio amateur, EA8DLJ. Nice to have you here, EA8DLJ. Curtis, man, good afternoon. Nick Amandel from Romania, nice to have you here. And what else do we have? Canadian Radio TV guy, remember summer 2018, my brother and I met a group of kids down the street. He came over, started showing them Shortwave set in the garage. I tuned to Brother's Dare while he was playing some sort of weird automated voice over there. Pretty ecstatic. Cool, KW1161. Hope you're going to have fun with that Belka. Dead Before Digital. In the mid-90s, I used to receive plenty of baby monitors and cordless phones and a Realistic Pro 2440 scanner. Thanks for the happy birthday. Nick Amandel says, being born in a communist country, my first interactions with the shortwave was called Radio Free Europe in the 80s. Yep. Absolutely. Trying to find who's telling the truth. What is the truth? Matt says, if your experience was that you had to be in line of sight to receive TV or radio, any kind of DX was cool. Yeah. I remember fiddling with the old black and white TV we had at home that nobody used because I was getting Channel 8 from Cornwall that was near Ottawa and being amazed that I was receiving a TV signal from so far away. This is the multicoupler that I have here is from Streetsburg Engineering, the MCA104M. This one has 4 antenna outputs. You have a cheaper one with 2 outputs if you want to have 2 radios. There's one with 4 outputs, and there's one with 6 and 8 outputs, I think, depending on what you want to do and how many radios you want to have. I believe MFJ has, MFJ or Conicom has a multicoupler also available. You can check that out. So this is nice because this one from Streetsburg Engineering has pretty much no loss. They say it's a 0 loss, and it shares your antenna with all the radios you want. You just need to have the proper cables, you know. Joe Sombra Newhouse, nice to have you here from Brazil. Robert Osborne, I think I got Voice of Turkey on 5980 in Niagara Falls. Some fading but decent signal. 5980. And that's at 546, so it was before the time. It was before the time. Nothing now. Look at that, guys. 5995 Radio TV Mali is there with their very exotic music. Mali on 5995. That's on the Texan PL990X, by the way. So, you know, Jim, CKLM 1570 used to really boom here in Rhode Island back in the 70s. I remember they played top 40 music. Yeah, I remember calling them. It was such a funny story. I remember calling them. They had at sometimes of the day they had a call-in show. You can actually ask for your requests. And when Thriller came out, there was always a request. There was one guy always requesting Billie Jean, and I would every time I would hear it, I would call in and say, "Can I would like to hear Beat It." And I remember every time the lady on the phone saying, "Well, we just played Michael Jackson." Yeah, but it's not the same song. And one day, I remember one day she said, "I'm not going to play it. Do you have any other bands you would like to play?" And I would say, "Okay, well, you know, play. What would I ask for? I remember when she was annoyed at it. It was always like, um, "Men at work. Who can it be now?" Great times. I remember she was annoyed. She was annoyed on the phone that after playing Billie Jean, I would always call in with "Play Beat It." Yeah, yeah. Canadian Radio TV guy says it was mostly weird noise and number stations and such that got me wired into shortwave radio. I've always been into conspiracies. It's mostly just because I've been electronics basically since birth. Yeah, yeah, I know. It's funny. It's really funny. Catalan says, hopefully your friend will appear in the chat room one day. Yeah, I don't know. Matt says, your story about your friend you lost contact does illustrate one thing great about life today, staying in touch with people through social media. So many folks would be out of my life without that. You know, if Facebook would have existed back then we probably would have hooked up on Facebook. And even if you would go away, I would have been, we would have continued contacting and keeping contact with each other, which was not the case back then. Another friend that I lost was the reason I speak English. My next door neighbor, his name was Johnny. They were an Italian family. And the reason I speak English is because we were playing all the time. And I still remember I was always speaking English, I was learning English. And his mom was always saying, oh, why don't you speak French with Johnny? Because he needs to learn French. And I would not speak French. I would speak English. And I learned my English with that, with playing with him and playing with two other, there were twins. They were also Italian. They also spoke only English and Italian, of course. And so I would play with them all the time because they were on my street. My two best friends, one lived at the corner, but we had 2 years of difference in age at first. When you're 13 and the other one's 11, it is a big difference. We are not, that 2 years is enough to have us think differently and do different, be different, even in high school. Of course, today we're still good friends. Today, 2 years difference is the same thing, 50 or 52. An adult is an adult. By the when I got in college, we started getting closer. Even though he was younger and was still in high school. But my other friend didn't live in the same street. He lived further away. So we didn't see each other every day. So my friends were the Italian family, which made me learn my English. That's how I learned my English. And that guy, I played all the time with that guy. And I still remember, I was 12 years old when he left. His dad had a company and they were settling. There was like a wave of, back in the late 70s, early 80s, there was a wave of, it happens a few times, even, past few years it happened again. So when gas gets a very high price, there's like a tendency, because of the production of gas is high in Alberta. It also brings, are searching for a way better life and better salaries and stuff. And I remember that they moved to Calgary. And I still remember. I remember when he left, how I'd say how empty life was suddenly. I had lost my street friend that we were almost every day doing stuff together. And I remember being pretty, not depressed, but sad for a while that I didn't have my friend anymore. That's another example of, if social media existed, if some way was more, we would have kept contact probably. I mean, we were together all the time. I remember his mom telling me, you're kind of his best friend. You guys are always together. And he didn't have any other friends much. I was his friend. And it's I still remember when he left it was a tough time. I was like, wow, I lost my friend, you know? I had friends, but I lost the one that I was always with, that was my next door neighbor, which was kind of a different thing. So, social media helps in that way, that's for sure. And I and I always thought, what happened to them? Where is he today? What is he doing? Is he married? Does he have children? We were the same age, so he'd be 52 today, 51, 52. We were the same age pretty much. So, what happened? It's one of those things you think about it today and you're like, wow, what happened to that guy? I wonder what he's doing today. He's still alive. Did something happen? And it's not in my mind much, but it will happen one day that you're going back a little bit in the past and doing stuff and thinking, I wonder what he's doing. I'd like to know a little bit about his life today, what happened, and so on. His parents are still alive or not, or he had two brothers. What did he become? One of them was young. So, it's one of those things that I think social media is cool today for that. How we can keep track and keep our friends, James Johnson, it's the first hour they're watching. Nice to have you here. WA4493 is WL from North Florida. Cool. Sorry. Getting rid of the TV guy says, think about it. Maybe he's out there somewhere watching the stream. Hey, you better drop me a line at officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com. I want to see him. I want to see him. Say hi. Where you become? William Helms, I've got a lot of Haitian neighbors and the other place where I used to live, having the old 49 megs cordless phones. Wow. Keegan, furthest East Kips catch in his first year for FMDXing was the station in Tijuana, Baja California, Mexico. 90.3. Wow. Man. Pretty crazy. Canadian Radio TV guy, looks like people are putting out their big junk today. Got to walk around sometimes today, see if I can find some old electronic junk. Some old electronic junk for them, some cool stuff for you. Acme, with a good SDR and loop antenna, can you receive DAB Plus in North America? The DAB Plus does not exist in North America. Is there a North American equivalent to DAB Plus digital music? Yeah, it's called HD radio. And I don't know if there's, I've not seen any HD radio equivalent for SDRs because it's a proprietary thing. So you need to pay a fee to Ubiquity if you do that. But if you're in Europe, even an SDR Play device with SDR Uno can receive DAB+. But here in North America, it's HD radio, which is the format, which is a very different thing and is in the same frequency range as the regular stations are. So, 730 kilohertz back a long time ago with CKAC. Today it is a different station, which is, what are the call letters of the station? It's a traffic station. Did they keep the call letters? 7:30. Let's see. Okay, yeah, they kept the same letters. CKSA, which was a talk radio station, now is also the same call letters, but it's a traffic information station now. But they kept the same call letters. WTF Radio 6925, apparently. Let's check out if we can hear it. 6925. So WTF Radio Pirates 6925 upper sideband. Outhouse Radio 6930 upper sideband also. So if you guys hear some pirates around there. Mark Ledford, nice to have you here from Houston, Texas. Levy Nathan, nice to have you on board from Israel. James Johnson, I watched all the IRR from the other channel and it was quite interesting to listen to. A really great show, real informative. Yeah, we try to keep it as informative as possible and keep checking out. So tomorrow we'll have, of course, the new show that will be aired on CKUT tomorrow at 14:30 UT. So about an hour and a half after it's going to be aired. It's going to be on the channel. But this week I plan on putting a lot of the older shows. So there'll be more shows from the past if you're interested in it. It is a great show with lots of information about the world of what's happening in the world of radio, everywhere in the world, locally and internationally, basically. Matt says, learning about number stations helped prompt me to finally try to satisfy my childhood curiosity about shortwave that unfortunately I couldn't really afford as a kid in the 80s. Too bad most were gone. Yeah. The ones that are still around are cool, though. Yeah, absolutely. KX2U Radio says, major announcement. I now have my Yaesu FT-DX10 sitting next to my FT991A. Cool. Joe Tyson, my parents gave me a multi-band shortwave radio in the mid-70s and listening to the stations from around the world was mind-blowing. Absolutely. King Duffy, good evening. Nice to have you here. Joe Gomez, nice to have you here from San Diego. Let's try to get a little faster. Remember back in the day where you can use your television as a meteor detector, Blessing TV Channel 2. Yeah. Here I had to put it on Channel 3 or 4 because Channel 2 was a local station, CBC station here. Mark Ledford, is it true there are only one analog TV station left on the air until July 2021? I know I've read something about how what's left of the analog stations on TV, which are low powered, are pretty much going away. I've read something about that, but don't forget that South America, Central America still has some for TVDXers. What else do we have? Ricardo says, I was just lured into shortwave and radio in general at 7-8-year-old, just listening to the amalgam of sounds out of Grandpa's radio, 1984-85. Wow. Pretty cool. Nope, we don't know, Trimbali, Mr. Bale. We have no idea. Pretty cool to see how everybody got into the hobby. Also at the same time. What else? Chuck Yunkin. I got SI 4732 all band radio. Got Texan PL 368 SSB just ordered Friday. Cool. Still waiting for my that weird radio, the Silicon Integrated 4732. I was looking at the chip. Somebody asked the other day, what's the difference between the 4732, 34, 35? There doesn't seem to be that much of a difference between them. There must be, but they seem to be very similar. One of the things that I found interesting, because I started looking at the specs, the Silicon Integrated's 4730 or some chip actually goes to all the way to 26.1 megahertz. It technically doesn't cover above that, but a lot of the radios that use it go all the way up to 30 megahertz. I found that kind of interesting. Ricardo says the shortwave trend was also the consequence of the home-built electronics craze of the 7980. Yeah. John Pickney, nice to have you here from Virginia, W3XWT. Tony Magny, nice to have you here, Tony. South coast of Ireland. Pretty cool to have you here. Yeah, it's that was interesting. A story that we had the birds striking antenna towers because of the constant red lights. I had no idea either. It was an interesting story, that's for sure. Good night, Catalan. James Johnson says, I was talking with a radio guy from the Navy, says the radar would get the birds on the ship sometimes. That's pretty crazy. It's pretty, it's something I didn't know either. I mean, we have these nice stories that we talk about, and it's just so cool to see all of the things. We use technology, but we don't realize how the technology affects our the wildlife around us and everything. There's a lot of talk about Radio Japan for the A21 schedule season. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but they're still on shortwave. But one of the things they did change apparently is that at 05 UT, Radio Japan uses the Austrian transmitter site that Radio Australia uses. They apparently going to stop using that for Europe. So I don't know. I'll be looking at the schedules a little more closely in the next week or so to see what stations. Let's hope we don't have too many changes or too many loss of stations because of that, for sure. Robert Osborne started with shortwave so I could listen to Alex Jones. Then as I got older, I started to realize he might be insane. Take care, John Pickney. It's one of those things. I was talking about Rush Limbaugh, which is extremely a controversial figure. But the first time I heard Rush Limbaugh, I didn't know who he was. And it was on WFLA. Because back in the 90s, when there was a very high solar activity, one of the things I always was chasing was anything in FM mode, because my Kenwood R5000 had the FM button. And for me, it was like so cool to be able to hear anything in FM mode. So some of the things I would hear is the FM repeaters on the top of the 29 megahertz band in the 29,600 and up, top of 10 meters. But for a while, WFLA in Tampa Bay, Florida, was also on 25,870 in FM mode. They had a studio to link transmitter. And that was coming in every day with high solar activity. And of course, they were playing Rush Limbaugh back then, who I didn't know who he was actually at the time. So, pretty crazy. Matt says there's a guy who mixes rants on the internet with metal music, making sounds out of them, and you recently did one with Alex Jones. Pretty funny. Well, you guys, you got to get a Yamaha 30 that sucks the airwaves. It's the only way you're going to get shortwave now. Want to listen to my show? Just get the Yamaha 30. Tinfoil hat, Yamaha 30. You're okay when all the bombs drop. Mad Radio DX, that's a shame. Radio Japan will stop using the Austrian relay. Always a strong signal here in the UK. Yeah, I heard it was actually making it up here to the East Coast. I would go to, I would listen to 500 UT and listen to that signal. It was decent enough to have be able to having a good program listening, actually. So, it was kind of interesting for that, for sure. I'll be looking closely, anyways, at the A21 schedules. Kind of curious to see what stations or what frequencies are going to use. Tony, I've canceled my pre-order of the 909 X2 from St. G in Europe, as the radio is going for a lot less on Amazon right now. The 909 X2 is kind of interesting. I've had there's N9 EWO Dave that tests radios, and everybody's saying one thing that's really, really sad is that St. Gian, even if you write to St. Gian, you get absolutely no answer from them. They're just like to a point where I'm not even sure of anything that people talk about at St. Gian and how they might or might not fix. I haven't really talked much about it, but so I see tons of reported people like seeing how they some of the St. Gian ATS 909 X2 are off frequency or have problems. I see the other end where some people are saying that's the best radio I've ever had. Very difficult to make an opinion out of anything when you see such wide diversity of comments. You can't even really know in reality, is it good or not? And it's a tough one. It's really a tough one. So it's, one of those things that we'll see. If it would be decently priced, who knows? Maybe it could be a buy, but I'm not going to pay. For now, an ATS 909 X2, the lowest price I've seen is there's Radio World in Toronto that's got it for $349 Canadian, plus shipping, plus taxes. It's 400 and some. I find it too steep of a price for a portable. So, Vaislav, yes, absolutely. Amanda Don Christie's artwork, absolutely. That was very unique and very interesting to see how to mix in radio waves and art. That experiment was so amazing. And anybody that hasn't seen it, if you ever get a chance, Spectres of Shortwave, where she talks about the demise of Radio Canada International and the Sackville transmitter site, is absolutely fantastic to watch as a documentary. Actually, for those that wonder what all about, go and check out my Canadian International DX Club barbecue video of 2017, I believe. If you go to 2017, and you search for the CIDX barbecue, I interviewed Amanda Don Christie there, and she talks about her Spectres of Shortwave documentary, actually. So mobile armored strike command, everyone should get a frequency allocation chart. I have one from Rhodes and Schwartz. Yeah. Mr. J Spring, are there any good table radios out there now? Depends on what the price you want to pay, and what do you mean by a tabletop? There are some tabletops, that are very expensive, like the Icom ICRD 600. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, harp is dormant. A lot of people are like, well, harp's all everywhere and it's changing the weather, and of course, the conspiracy stuff. And every time somebody comes up to me and says, well, harp, have you seen what harp does? Harp is doing nothing right now. You should really, really brush up on what it actually is when it actually did work. It's doing nothing right now. So I propose that everybody that can give me some money to right now give me tons of money so I can purchase the harp transmitters and site, and I promise that if you guys give me all the money needed for me to actually purchase that, there's going to be a new, very powerful shortwave station out of Alaska broadcasting cool programs. Nothing about religion. Everything will be just great. So start the donations now. I probably need quite a lot of millions to do so. And I'll need to move to Alaska eventually also, which means it's a little complex. But if you guys want, I'll buy the place and we'll start a big shortwave station out of Alaska with that thing. Terry Cook, speaking of radio-related documentaries, if you haven't seen Ken Burns' Empire of the Air, you should watch it for it. It is awesome. I'm going to have to check that. I will try to check that. Is it available anywhere online that you can point me to, Terry, out of curiosity? Because I haven't. The name tells me something. I remember. I remember hearing about that, but I've never seen it. James Johnson, the great radio dream to own a full-blown station. And imagine harp, it can blast the ionosphere with that. That's going to rival with the super station WBC Q9330. I'm going to put myself on that frequency. All Jill, all the time. Yeah, of course, I could move to Delano, California. That could be. Okay, PBS has it online. Yeah, PBS in Canada is unavailable in Canada. When you go to a documentary on PBS, it says I'll have to set up a VPN. Probably going to work through a VPN. Because here in Canada, it's like, yeah, you're not in the US, so you can't see the stuff. It's like, yeah, go. Makes me mad every time. Yeah, but I'd like the one in Alaska for there's something magical about, like, broadcasting from somewhere up there, in Alaska, and of course it's so powerful. But Delano, yeah, if you gotta give me enough money, maybe I could, like, try to strike a deal and buy Delano, California transmitter sites. Voice of official shortwave channel Alaska. And you're listening to Jill all the time, 24/7. The only voice you'll hear is mine. Anybody's gonna go nuts with that. So, do you see that Canadian guy that went to Alaska and wanted his voice heard 24/7 on shortwave? Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna find find a way. They have some great documentaries, for sure. Hi, Comic 40s. Nice to have you here. So, hey guys, I am going to say goodbye. I've been on a Zoom meeting for 3 hours before this show, so I've got my 5 hours and a half of camera, and so I'm kind of a little tired now. So, hey guys, what I'll do is I'm going to go and cook me a little bit of food. I was thinking of maybe doing. I'm actually thinking of maybe some dumplings that I have here for supper. I'll be back on the radio for the rest of the night. That's for sure. So look for my posts of things I might be listening to tonight and so on. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So pretty cool. Dimitri, you should work for the government and take me tour and show the harp system. Malcolm, yeah, the Texan PL 880 is an amazing radio. Amazing radio, for sure. I can hear Radio TV guy says that Montreal guy again. We can hear, after hearing me talk 24/7 for a month, you can all say, yeah, you know what, Brother Stare wasn't so bad after all. Oh God. Eric Cottrell has got the DVD of Empire of the Air. Joe Tyson, take care. Take care, everybody. Always nice to have you on board. Don't forget the Facebook group. Absolutely. The Facebook group is the place to go now. Official SWL channel. So that's pretty cool. Roughest News doing Parmigiana pork. That sounds great, actually. I'm getting hungry now. So don't forget, 2 shows next week. Once again, we'll be back on Wednesday. And its own moaning sessions. No, you know what, Canadian Radio TV guy, I'm gonna get a bunch of cats. We're gonna have the meowing sessions. 2 hours of cats meowing over the air. That's gonna be the equivalent of the moaning sessions. We'll call it a cat, some kind of cat moment to help you relax. So, International Radio Report show tomorrow, guys. Don't forget. And if you haven't had the chance to subscribe, don't forget that we are on YouTube now. So, if you don't listen in to ckut.ca live, you can actually join in to the Facebook group, where the show is going to be posted about an hour and a half after it plays live on CKUT. So if you miss it, it's a great way to actually check it out. Here you go. Facebook group of the International Radio Report once again. Hope you enjoy. It's a great show about radio that lasts 30 minutes. So, Dimitri, let's talk about harp next time. And by the way, it's a very informative show. Thank you. Cool. I'll gather some information about that and a little more and see kind of see all the steps that did bring harp into life. That could be interesting. K6YYL has ham radio for dinner tonight, 40 meters. I'm going to tune around. Hopefully, maybe I can hear you at some point. Take care, everybody. Stay safe, everyone. And it's nice to have all of you as usual. And it's always cool to be here. Do you think that had any weather modification capabilities, or is that just conspiracy, Kamagzi? Conspiracy. It's not powerful enough to do that. It was powerful enough to heat up the ionosphere slightly over its facilities, but that's pretty much it. There's not enough energy in there. That the energy that this what that did is so small compared to the total energy that would be needed to just modify the weather that no one has that capability really. Maybe an atomic bomb would do that, but not, that's way more power, I can tell you that. Okay, take care, everyone. Stay safe. Love you all. And it's always cool to have everybody here. I was about to sign off without it. And now comes the, hey, don't forget the Moscow Nights. So stay safe, everyone. Let's go to the Moscow Nights moment. Before we sign off, little blast from the past. Here, let's have a couple of blasts from the past for those that are still here. We're going to have this one. Let's start with this one from, this is from 1989. Little moment here of, let me just, what is this? Okay. I'm going to start with a little bit of sounds before we go into Moscow Nights.
You are tuned to the English service of Radio RSA, the voice of South Africa in Johannesburg.
And we have...
You've been listening to a broadcast of the North American service of Radio Berlin International, the voice of the German Democratic Republic. We broadcast to the East Coast at 23:15, 0 and 1:30 hours UTC on 9.730 megahertz or 30.83 meters, and on 11.975 megahertz or 25.05 meters. We broadcast to the West Coast at 2:30 hours UTC on 9.560 megahertz or 31.38 meters, on 11.840 megahertz or 25.34 meters, and on 11.890 megahertz or 25.23 meters. And at 5:30 hours UTC on 9.560 megahertz or 31.38 meters, and on 11.890 megahertz or 25.23 meters. This is a regular nightly broadcast designed to acquaint you with the people of the German Democratic Republic, who are busily engaged in building a state devoted to lasting peace, friendship, and prosperity for all. Now until tomorrow night, they will wish you all a very pleasant good night.
That, what else do we have?
Radio Österreich International.
Radio Austria International. Radiotrice Internationale.
Radio Austria International. Radio Österreich International.
Radio Austria International. Radiotrice Internationale.
Radio Austria International. Radio Österreich International.
Radio Austria International. Radiotrice Internationale.
Radio Austria International.
is the Dutch international service Radio Netherlands, broadcasting via shortwave to the central part of North America on 6165 kilohertz. That's 6165 kilohertz. Don't forget you can listen to Radio Netherlands 24 hours a day via our website. Tune in at www.rnw.nl. You can hear this hour-long shortwave broadcast every day at 100 hours UTC, and it begins in just a moment. Broadcasting from studios in Hilversum in Holland, you're very welcome to Radio Netherlands, the Dutch international service. We're on air via shortwave, the World Radio Network, satellite, and the internet. You can listen live 24 hours a day on our website. That's www.rnw.nl. You'll also find the latest news and current affairs, information about the Netherlands, and lots more. The address again,
Radio Sverige, Stockholm.
Radio Sweden, Stockholm. Radio Швеция, Стокгольм.
This is Radio PK.
This is Radio PK.
And Israel.
Oops. Sorry.
This is the North American service of Radio Moscow, broadcasting on 17.70, 15.45, 15.4.
Everywhere on shortwave.
15.14, 12.05, 9.87, 9.76, 9.72, 9.70, 7.32, 7.18, 7.15, 7.11, and 6.11 megahertz.
Radio Canada International.
Radio-Canada International.
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 Thanks for the birthday wishes, guys. Take care. Okay, right. Remind me next time, Mad Radio DX, or I'll play it. Take care, everybody. Stay safe. AWF 7i Homebrew. Love you all.